Once upon a time, right on the edge of the forest, lived a golden-haired girl. This golden yellow-haired girl's name was Goldilocks. She had such amazing and admirable locks that everyone who saw her was mesmerized. But despite her sweetness, at times she could be a rather naughty little girl. Every time she stepped out to play, her mother would have to warn her to behave. "Darling, please stay in the backyard and don't go into the woods." Deep into the forest in a shack lived a bear family. A broad-shouldered papa bear, a medium-sized mama bear, and a baby bear. Mama Bear always woke up early to prepare oatmeal porridge for breakfast. One morning, Baby Bear woke up earlier than usual and wanted to eat his porridge. But it was too hot.
"Mama, can we go out for a walk in the woods until our porridge cools down?"
Mama, Papa and Baby Bear left their porridges on the table and went out for a walk. The same morning, Goldilocks was playing in the backyard while waiting for her mum to prepare breakfast. But she was so bored of playing in the same yard all the time, and she was very curious about the deep parts of the forest.
What would happen if I just went for a walk?
She looked around, seeing that no one was around. She began running into the forest. When she got tired, she stopped and looked around.
What a beautiful forest! Flowers, trees. Why didn't I come here before?
She began to walk deeper into the forest. In the meantime, walking around with his family, the baby bear saw a beehive on the branch of a tree.
Such a big beehive! I'm sure it is full of honey. Papa, can we eat some honey?
No, my boy, that belongs to the bees. It's their home.
We can't go in anybody's home and eat their food. It's not right.
You're right. I think I will have to wait until we go home for my breakfast.
Meanwhile, Goldilocks walked all by herself for such a long time. Finally, she got lost. She tried to turn back but could not make out the right way. She got really tired and hungry. She was almost in tears of her tiredness. She walked a little more, and finally she came to the end of the road. And she came across the house of the bear family in between the trees. She quietly approached the house, walked around it, but she could not see anyone. She knocked on the door, but nobody answered. Then she looked through the window. She saw 3 hot steamy plates on the table. She went back to the door again, and this time she knocked hard. The door opened. Goldilocks was overjoyed. She looked in and yelled, "Anybody home?" When there was no answer, she entered. She approached the table. On the table, there were 3 bowls of porridge, 1 big, 1 medium-sized, and 1 small. Because she was so hungry, she wanted to eat the big one first. But the moment she put the spoon in her mouth, her mouth burned, because the porridge was still too hot. She immediately reached the medium bowl, but she did not want to eat this either, because it was too cold.
It's too cold!
Finally, she dipped her spoon into the smallest one.
This porridge is neither cold nor too hot. It's exactly the way I want it.
So she ate all the porridge in the smallest bowl. When she was done with her breakfast and felt full, she wanted to sit on one of the 3 chairs in front of the chimney to rest for a while. One of the 3 chairs was a big one, the other one medium, and the last one was a small one. First she tried to sit on the big one, but she couldn't even climb on it. She tried the medium one, but this one was very hard. It was very uncomfortable. Finally, she sat down on the smallest one. This one was very comfortable and exactly her size. But suddenly, the chair broke into pieces with a very loud noise. Goldilocks found herself on the floor and she did not know what to do. She walked through to the next door, and here there were 3 beds. A big, a medium-sized, and a small one. First she tried the big bed. This one was too big for her and also too hard. Second one was a little bigger than her size, but also too soft. So she lied down on the third and smallest bed. This one was exactly her size, and it was very comfortable. So comfortable that Goldilocks fell asleep right away. Whilst Goldilocks was sleeping, the bear family came back home. Papa Bear had some wood with him that he collected for the chimney. Mama Bear had fresh berries, and Baby Bear just could not wait to have his porridge. When they arrived home, they went straight to the table. Papa Bear had a look at his bowl and was so angry.
Somebody tasted my porridge.
Mama Bear also looked at her bowl.
Somebody also tasted my porridge.
And when Baby Bear looked at his bowl, he began to cry.
That somebody also tasted my oatmeal porridge. Not only tasted it, also ate it all.
They got up and started to look around. Papa Bear noticed his chair in front of the chimney.
Somebody sat on my chair. Look, it's on a different spot.
And then it was Mama Bear's turn to complain.
Somebody also sat on my chair.
And just like before, the Baby Bear began to cry again.
Somebody also sat on my chair, but broke it too.
The bear family curiously went to the bedroom.
Somebody lied on my bed. Look how it's undone.
Somebody lied on mine too.
Somebody lied on my bed too, and is still sleeping in it.
Papa Bear walked next to Baby Bear's bed and saw that someone really was sleeping in his bed. Slowly lifted up the blankets, and they were really surprised to see a little girl sleeping in the bed.
What is a little girl doing in our house?
Tell this little girl to get out of my bed now.
Waking up to Baby Bear's crying, Goldilocks saw 3 bears in front of her and she ran out of the room in great fear. She went out of the house and started running without looking back. She got breathless from running, but she did not stop. And she didn't even know which way to go. Right at that moment, she saw her parents coming across from the forest. When she didn't end up going back home, they went out looking for her. Goldilocks was very happy to see her parents. She ran and hugged her mother.
Oh, Mummy!
We were so worried. Are you okay?
From now on, I will always listen to you. I will never leave without letting you know.
Goldilocks hugged her parents really tight. From that day on, as she promised, she always listened to her parents and did nothing without having their permission. She was a well-behaved and kind girl forever. It was a cold and snowy New Year's night. The people were passing by with their warm coats, gloves and scarves. They were all in a rush to get somewhere. Some were late and rushing to get home, and some were going to a venue to celebrate the new year. Children were running around on the streets throwing snowballs to each other. Of course, they were the ones enjoying the snow the most. They were playing with each other and laughing hysterically. But on the streets, there was a girl, different than the ones that were playing. This little girl was standing in the middle of the street, watching the other kids play. She did not have a hat to protect her from the cold like others. Her clothes were light and ripped, and the slippers on her feet didn't fit her right. They were big. She was holding a box in her hands, shivering from the freezing cold. The little girl barely noticed the car coming right at her.
Hey kids, stay on the side of the road, you're gonna get run over!
The little girl threw herself on the sidewalk that second. But while she was running, the very big slippers on her feet flew off. When she was on the sidewalk, she turned around and looked. She saw a boy running with her slippers. "My slippers!" She yelled and ran after him, but the kid ran away fast. "Hey, stop!" Having no choice but to walk barefoot, she sought for a shelter next to a wall. She opened the box she had been holding and she put it down. She was looking in the box full of matches with her eyes watery from the cold. This was a little match girl, but she could not even sell one box of matches that day. If she could make a sale and earn some money, she could go home and have at least a bowl of warm soup with her mother. So she started yelling with her thin, shivering voice from cold and sadness. "Matches! Matches! Anyone wants matches? Matches!" Nobody on the street paid any attention to her, so she sat down next to the wall. Her fingers started to ache from the cold. She could not bear the pain anymore. Somehow, she had to warm up. She opened a box and pulled out a match. Her fingers were numb, and she could barely hold a match. With her shivering hands, she lit the match on the wall, and suddenly a warm orange light surrounded her. Poor girl passed the match from one hand to the other to warm her fingers. Her hands were not cold anymore. She found herself in front of a burning stove. She stared at the fire and started dreaming. She was sitting in front of a big stove in a beautiful room. She had a woolen sweater on her, furry boots on her feet, and a beanie on her head. It was so hot she began to sweat. But suddenly, the match went out. With the match out, those sweet dreams also vanished. Her little fingers began to freeze and ache once again. She lit up another match. At that moment, a cold wind blew. The little girl turned to the wall to keep the match from going out, and she covered the fire with her hands. Whilst she was looking at it, the wall suddenly vanished and opened up. There was a big room inside. There were all sorts of food spread on a table with a white cloth, and the silver candlesticks on the table lit up the room like daylight. She stared at the table and saw that in the middle of the table there was a beautifully grilled big piece of meat. She immediately ripped a piece of it and put it in her mouth. Suddenly, she wasn't hungry anymore. The little match girl wanted to take another piece of meat. She reached out, but the match she had in her hand went out pretty fast. Poor girl's hand burned and she threw the match away. Ow! Ow! As soon as she threw away the match, the feast on the table and the room vanished. The wall reappeared. Little match girl lit another match. Now she was in an even bigger dream. She was sitting under a tree on a summer night, looking at the stars above. It was still warm, even though it was night time. The little girl could not take her eyes off of the stars. She never saw the sky and the stars so clear and sparkling before. Then suddenly, she saw a shooting star. She thought to herself, "There goes another one of us flying into eternity." These are actually her grandmother's words. At that moment, she saw her grandmother appear.
When you see a shooting star, know that someone will take its place, my dear.
Her grandmother was visible for a brief moment, and then when she disappeared, the little match girl called after her.
Grandmother, stop! Don't go! Don't go, please! I really missed you!
To see her grandmother one more time, she lit up another match. She forgot how she was freezing from cold in the middle of the street and started dreaming once again. Every time she lit up a match, she felt as if she was seeing her grandmother and hearing her voice. The little girl lit up another match. Her surroundings lit up like daylight. She never saw her grandmother this beautiful before. Her loving face made her forget all the cold and bitter days she had ever been through. She did not want this moment to finish, so she lit up the final match in a hurry. Her grandmother appeared in front of her again. She reached out her arms to hold the little match girl's hand. They started to fly up into the sky together. The little girl felt a sudden relief. There was no cold or hunger anymore. At that moment, another shooting star went on by. In the morning, the people who passed by on the street saw the little match girl laying down by the wall, her eyes closed but with a sweet smile on her face. She had a lot of burnt matches around her. The matches which, with their flames, brought her dreams alive that no one would ever dream about.